everyone. Welcome to the Search Show. So today I want to talk about really interesting guy, and his name is Mr. Zelensky, and you know him. Yes, you know him as the president of Ukraine. However, I just wanted to let you know, guys, that that's not what he always was, right? And there are videos on YouTube that I'm gonna look at today. He used to be a comedian, and he used to be a very interesting and kind of controversial person. However, the reason I want to talk about him is because I was watching one of the movies, and I don't know if you're going to be able to watch it in English, although you can put dubbing on, but I was watching it in Ukrainian. And surprise, surprise, you know, he is in the movie where he was literally nobody, like he was. And then in that movie, he's playing that Americans came in, and then the leaders of the world were searching for somebody to lead Ukraine, right? And they're standing on the top of the building. You're going to see that in the movie because we're actually going to watch this. And they were choosing another leader for that country to kind of make it unstable, right? You know, I mean, that's what the leaders of the countries that have so much money and they have nothing to do, you know, they want to play God. So they're like, oh yeah, let's mess up Ukraine a little bit. So they choosing him as the president. Funny thing is, it's not far-fetched from reality. And you know, when people say, oh, you know, conspiracy theories, and most of the time now, most of the conspiracy theories have been coming true. Well, let's look a little bit on Mr. Zelensky, okay? And let's find out what he is really like. Вечно мело, чьи-то взгляды, прячем свои лица. Ты один, аллиготер, через свою большую ПОУ. Подними меня разок, не развяжется твой ПУ. Не ходи, ты в избирком, там тебя посадят РАКом.
Was president of Ukraine, he was just an ordinary guy who played the president of Ukraine. Vasily, a high school teacher unexpectedly catapulted to power, takes on oligarchs and bureaucracy. But can one honest man survive politics? Volodymyr Zelensky stars in Servant of the People, exclusively on Vision TV.
And if that movie was actually a preview to what they're gonna do. Because remember, Zelensky became a president right during the time where Mr. Biden was in office, and right after the situation when Biden's son had, you know, part in a company, even though he had no idea and no experience what he was doing. And then all of a sudden, Ukraine came very unstable, you know, and that is interesting because you know what? I realized that through many years, the stuff that is showing us in the movies, it actually happens, right? I mean, think about it. All that stuff about the AI, it's happening. You know, all that stuff about, you know, like Minority Report and things like that. I mean, surveillance, hello. You know, even now lately they've been talking about all different things that's going on, and that they can play with your mind and, you know, scanning your eyes and facial recognition even when you go into the store. So it's even worse than the Minority Report, or even, you know, I Am, you know, Robot, you know, that movie. But I don't want to focus on that. I want to focus on Zelensky. So let's look at some videos and let's see. I'm going to play them out and I'm going to break in and out of those videos, but I want you to see what he was, and then, you know, what his job was, and then we're going to see what the movie said, and let's look what he's doing now. In the middle right now. Dance with me, baby. Now, the funny thing is that Zelensky, if you watch the movie, and I do encourage you to watch it because it's actually very telling, okay, what's going on. Now, Zelensky, after he became a president, he destroyed the country, and he put Ukraine in war where literally it's horrible, but um, he did horrible things. He took people walking to the store, and if you were a guy, he would stop, and his militia would stop and take you to the border, and you would be fighting the Russians, even though he himself would never go fight. No, no, no. I mean, he's a comedian, right? He's a great actor, so he is totally out there. We got actually chance to see how he is like when he came to the office to meet with the president, Trump, right? But let's look at him. I mean, he is a very interesting guy. All right, so let's look at that.
Как вы, наверное, догадались, ваши старые знакомые.
Да. Вы не удивляйтесь, что мы в таких костюмах. Мы просто на входе с Беркутом фоткались.
And let's see what's going on. Now, I do want to tell you a little bit that Ukraine, just the history of Ukraine was never a country. All right, it was never a country. It was actually a state, and for thousands of years it has been going between Poland, Russia, Poland, Russia, Poland, Russia, Poland, Russia, but it never was an independent state, never was an independent country. It was always a state, either Polish state or a Russian state. So when you say free Ukraine, it's like telling, hey, let's free Texas, or free California, or free, I don't know, Florida, or free Michigan, and then that country breaks off. I mean, that state breaks off and wants to become its own country. Okay, that's what happened. So when people say, oh, free Ukraine, at that time when you're screaming, be free Ukraine got a green light from Putin. If it wasn't for Putin, Ukraine would never even have a chance to be an independent state. But Putin was so nice that he actually gave Ukraine an independence. But he told them one thing: never, ever go to European Union. I will not allow that. So now for people to scream, free Ukraine, what are you talking about? It's a shame to what Zelensky did to his country. Because as you can see on this video, he had a pretty good life in Ukraine. But a lot of millions of people had to flee Ukraine. They had to go to Europe, spread out of Europe. A lot of them went to Poland, which is close next door, so it's kind of okay. A lot of them came to America, as refugees. So, you know what? He caused chaos. Now the question is, was it he? Or was it really like it says in the movie? So let's look at the video. Let's look at who Zelensky was and what he's doing, and just unfortunately how sadly he destroyed the country. And he's still screaming. He's asking for money, and he bought a lot of different, houses in different places. And I heard he also bought some in Florida or something. I don't know. I don't want to spread any rumors, but that's what I've heard. I wouldn't be surprised with all the billions and billions of dollars that he's getting. Always asking for more. Always asking for more. We'll see that in the video anyway. But yeah, let's look at Mr. Zelensky and let's see what he is like. All right, let's go.
Now, Ukraine's war chest is running dry. Facing surging costs, President Zelensky is demanding European wallets to open wider, and not just for weapons, but to put cash directly in the hands of Ukrainian soldiers. The battlefield is being matched now by diplomatic firefight over who should foot the bill for survival. Take a look at this next report for more details.
Zelensky isn't just fighting Russia anymore. He's fighting to keep his army paid. The battlefield has shifted from trenches to treasuries. and Ukraine's president is knocking on Europe's door with an uncomfortable request: fund our soldiers. This comes as Ukraine's entire front line is facing a collapse. In a move both desperate and strategic, Kyiv will formally ask the European Union to bankroll salaries for its military. With US funding drying up and tax revenues crumbling under the weight of war, Ukraine simply cannot afford to pay its own defenders. This is no longer just about weapons or aid. This is about cash in Ukrainian pockets to keep soldiers standing guard. Behind the scenes, Kyiv's military has grown threefold, stretching the national budget past breaking, with a projected $37.2 billion deficit for 2025, and mobilization grinding against political and social fatigue.
So you can tell that he actually has a pretty good sense of humor. You know, I mean, okay. But yeah, that's the president dancing. You know, it's amazing. He's pretty good on those heels. I mean, wow. You know, doing a flip like that on heels, man, he should be working for Beyonce. Pretty good job with those heels. I don't think I could be able to do that with those heels. It's pretty good moves too. Like I said, I think he's a pretty good comedian, you know? He's pretty funny, and I cannot say that he was not good at what he was doing, but I think he should stick with the TV and the comedy, and, you know, they should take somebody else and lead the nation, because he doesn't know what he's doing. I wonder if any of those other guys that are in the video are they working for him in the government too. Probably a group of people working with him, because, you know, otherwise he'll be considered probably a traitor. Alright, so that was one of them. Okay, so I'm gonna just push forward a little bit, because it's pretty long video. There you go. There you go. So here he is dancing. All right. So probably his career started slowing down a little bit, I guess. I don't know. Dancing with the Stars is usually when, you know, something is going down or you need extra money, right? That's why usually you dance with the stars. So he does have pretty good moves, I gotta tell you, you know? I mean, come on, he got it going, you know? So there you go, look at him. Tango and stuff, pretty good. Good moves, good moves. Too bad he cannot make those good moves, you know, running a country. And you would think that, you know, after all that and working for television and being, you know, out there and showing off, you actually would have a little bit more, you know, understanding of how to act when you're with a president of another country in the office. But I don't know, you know, this is what we're talking about, right? But yeah, he's a pretty good dancer, I have to say that. Alright, let's go look for more stuff. Okay, let's look. There are some other videos that I was looking at. Okay, so here's going to be a situation when he's actually there's a lot of protests right now in Ukraine. People are not happy because he dismissed one of his army people who was actually helping with the war. So let's listen.
I am here in general to demand for changes against absolutely idiotic decisions that are trying to destroy our state from the inside. I am here for the first day, not the second, and my goal is to show that there are many of us, that our voice must be heard, and that such radical changes without agreement of the people, that is, the only source of government, are simply unacceptable. He, Fedorov, and his government, having worked for about half a year, have already achieved colossal results. Mid-strike drones, hits on Russian oil refining facilities. This is the only thing that brings us closer to victory. Now, I don't know whether it will still work, and after that, I don't know what will happen. I wouldn't want to dwell on specific personalities. Fedorov just happens to be at the moment when it all reached its peak. This is the reason why I'm here.
For the second straight day, thousands of Ukrainians have taken to the streets, openly protesting President Volodymyr Zelensky's dramatic government reshuffle. The biggest flashpoint? His decision to dismiss Defense Minister Mikhailo Fedorov, a move that has unsettled sections of Ukraine's military leadership and sparked rare public anger against a president who has largely enjoyed strong wartime support.
We need to completely replace the army, because now it is a huge machine that eats up all the competent people, all the proactive people. In today's example, it ate up the Minister of Defense. It shouldn't work like that. I thought I had problems with the army, because I really do, but the current situation has shown that we have enormous problems.
Yeah, so you can see that people are not really too happy with his ruling right now and what he is doing. And, I mean, what do you expect, right? I mean, what do you expect when somebody was a comedian and they never had to do anything in the office, right? Running a country. So, I personally think I feel bad for the Ukrainian people. One of my best friends, she is Ukrainian and she had a business and everything going on in Ukraine and it was going really well, and unfortunately she had to come to America and leave everything behind because of the situation, and now she is starting from nothing and the business was destroyed and everything. So I don't know, if you decide that you're going to fight for freedom of your country, you better have a plan before you go to war. You don't just cause war or, stand up and say, I'm not going to do it and then figure out what's going to happen. That's just dumb. And see what it is. People are kind of fed up, Yeah, I definitely wanted to show you guys the, the situation in the Oval Office, how it happened, and what are we dealing with, right? So it's obviously not a professional person who knows what politics are all about. It's someone who's literally don't know what they're doing and asking for money because money will support the military and everything else, and especially the oligarchs and purchases of all the homes when things don't go right. You can always just get on a plane or private jet and get out of the country, right? Few of his people did, right? They got fired. So because there was some recovery money laundering. But anyway, let's look at his, back at the situation in the Oval Office, all right? And then we're going to keep on going.
United States of America and for the good of the world. I'm aligned with the world, and I want to get this thing over with. You see the hatred he's got for Putin. It's very tough for me to make a deal with that kind of hate. He's got tremendous hatred, and I understand that, but I can tell you the other side isn't exactly in love with, him either. So it's not a question of alignment. I'm aligned with the world. I want to get the thing set. I'm aligned with Europe. I want to see if we can get this thing done. You want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough. But you're never going to get a deal that way, so that's the way it goes. All right, one more question.
I want to respond to this. So look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact
2015.
2014.
2014 and 2014.
2014.
Yeah. So
I was not here.
Yeah, but
That's exactly right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, yeah, the situation the same. The people are been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him. Me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed with him with gas contract. Gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking about? What do you mean?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Count once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military? And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems, even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on this
position to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this.
you're doing.
I'm not
You're in
dictating.
no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
You
We're
will-
going to feel very
you will
good.
feel influenced.
We're going to feel
I'm-
very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influenced.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the very
bad position,
beginning
and he
of the
happens
war.
to be right about
From
it.
the very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a good
Brown,
position.
I
You don't
was
have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not playing
cards.
cards.
Right now, you
I'm
don't.
very
Yeah, you're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War III.
what you're
You're
speaking about?
gambling with
What you're
World
speaking
War III. And
You-
what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
I'm
That's
with
back
all
to you.
respect to your
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said
very
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once this
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States
what
of
you're
America
speaking
and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war, you
He's
can...
not speaking loudly. He's not
Yeah.
speaking loudly. Your country is
Can I-
in big
can I-
trouble.
can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No,
Can
you've
I
done a lot
answer?
of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not
I
winning.
know.
You're not winning this.
I,
You have a damn
we-
good chance of
we are
coming out
staying-
okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this
We
cabinet.
gave you, through
I
this
said
stupid
thank-
president, $350 billion.
You
We
voted
gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment,
You
and you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave, but they had to
president.
use our military.
What about we are
If
speaking?
you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
you invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I
Again,
tell you.
just say thank you.
I said a lot of
accept
times
that
thank
there,
you
accept
to
that-
American people.
Accept that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I understand, sir.
I think it's
I
very
understand.
important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the
I'm
cards.
thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying.
tell you
You're
again,
running
I
low
know.
on soldiers.
Don't-
Listen,
don't,
you're
please,
running
Mr.
low on
President.
soldiers. It would be a damn good thing.
Mr.
And then
President.
then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go and I want this. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're
I
saying
said-
you don't want a
But
ceasefire.
I said to you,
I want a
with
ceasefire.
guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't
doesn't
with
matter
me.
for you what-
That
what
wasn't
this
with me.
means. It
That was
wasn't
with
with you.
a guy named Biden who was not a smart person.
This
That
is
was
your,
with, that
this
was
is
with
your
Obama.
president. It was your president.
Excuse me, that was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is, Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
One more question to Mr. Vice President.
You know, I never have enough watching this because you can actually see how he is just, you know, like that wasn't us, you know, that was you guys. Your president said that, and I don't care that maybe you, Mr. Trump, are in office. Your other president told me to do so and that they're going to give me money, so now I want my money. I mean, that's exactly his attitude, right? It don't matter. And like Trump said, he's hate and for Russia is just crazy. And, you know, the sad part is that you cannot find those videos on YouTube anymore. But the truth was that actually the Ukrainians did attack a Russian government building with people inside. And that's where it started, on the east side of Ukraine, where actually the heaviest fighting is now. But what happened was, in Ukraine, a lot of people used to live side by side. So Ukrainians and Russians were living together because obviously that was a Russian state. So what the Ukrainians did, they went into the government building, and it was horrifying. And why I do believe it, because they did the same thing to Poland many years ago, before the World War II, or actually during World War II. They killed 250,000 people, I think. They raped the women, they attacked the women, they shot them in the face, ripped the babies out of the pregnant women. So do I believe that they did that again? Yes, I totally do. I'm not saying that all the Ukrainian people did it. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying that those people who call themselves the Nazi, which is the far right now, Zelensky is from the far right side. So so if you want to say anything about Nazi, that's the people who actually rip, pregnant women open, take out the babies, kill them, shoot your kids. They don't care who they are. That's the Nazis, all right? He is the far right side of the Nazis. So basically what they did is they attacked that Russian government building. They killed the women. They killed the children. They threw some out of the window. I think they burned people alive in that building. And that's when Putin decided enough is enough. Now, that has been going for years, so it didn't just happen one time. But that one time when they literally put kids, killed kids, ripped, I think, pregnant women open and burned the building with people inside alive, that's when Putin decided to step in. So that's where the whole thing started. Unfortunately, those videos were already taken out of YouTube, obviously for political reason, we know that. But that's why I decided to say that in the middle of the clip. But yeah, let's look at him and let's look what else he's doing. All right. Anyway, that's just a little information.
Шановні українці, українки, сьогодні був ще ряд зустрічей з командирами армійських корпусів, корпусу морської піхоти, командувачем оперативного угруповання «Схід» Віктором Ніколюком. Фактично з усіма рівнями вищих командирів армії та загалом Сил оборони та безпеки України ми говорили і бачимо загальну позицію. Апостол, Редіс, Білецький, Горбатюк, Оболенський, Бровді і інші. З багатьма говорив. Всі пріоритети та шлях модернізації управління армією проаналізовані. Перше, я визначив, що...
And President Trump was right. I mean, that guy does not want a ceasefire. He does not want a ceasefire. It's kind of almost like the Iranian, regime. It's the same situation. Like, I'd rather die than. The only thing is he's not dying. He's just like those leaders in Iran. He is hiding, and the poor people and the kids are fighting. Those who stayed, because the oligarchies are, in different countries, having fun and, skiing, going to different places, on yachts and everything. But the poor people, the real people of Ukraine, the boys actually are fighting. And, because he is obviously traveling around the world, on his plane, asking for more money, right? But it's sad. It is sad, and I feel sad for the Ukrainian people, but I do not feel sad for those who, brought this country to ruin. He literally brought the country to ruin, and I don't think he's going to stop. I don't think this situation is going to be pretty bad, and I do feel bad for the Russians. I do feel bad for the Ukrainians. My family, its roots are Ukrainian, so it's sad to see that situation. But do I approve of what they're doing? Absolutely not. What he's doing. And like you see, he just wants to beg for money, to continue what? Continue what? Destroying people's lives? Sorry guys, this is my little helper. He's always helping me, protecting my mama, his mama. So yeah, anyway, when you hear somebody barking and stuff like that, that's my little helper. Yeah, so there's my little kawaii, my little helper right there. Yes, you are. You're such a good boy. Yeah, that's my little helper. Okay, let's continue watching.
By now, Volodymyr Zelensky is used to holding back-to-back meetings with allies across Europe. But this time, the stakes seem a little higher, as the war in Iran overshadows the ongoing conflict in his own country. Meeting with Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez on Wednesday, the Ukrainian president voiced concerns of a potential missile shortage. US forces are using hundreds of them to shoot down Iranian rockets and drones, making less available for Ukraine.
Nobody stopped deliveries to Ukraine, and we have all these packages
Yes, of course, we're afraid that they will decrease, as I said.
Zelensky has also lamented the constant postponement of peace negotiations, saying the war in Iran was the only reason. Meanwhile, amid concern over soaring global energy prices, US President Donald Trump has eased sanctions on Russian oil exports, which is expected to boost income for the Kremlin. It was in this context that Sanchez promised Spain would maintain its support for Kiev for as long as necessary and announced a deal to boost joint manufacturing in the defense industry.
I want to tell you that nothing and no one will make us forget what is happening in Ukraine. We will keep up our support for the Ukrainian people with the same intensity.
European leaders know that now is not the time to upset the White House. Washington's support is crucial in efforts to bolster Ukraine. But in recent days, Donald Trump has repeatedly criticized NATO allies, particularly the United Kingdom, over a perceived lack of support for the US in its war against Iran and in securing the Strait of Hormuz. During his visit to London on Tuesday, Zelensky expressed hope that Prime Minister Keir Starmer can meet with the US president and find common ground.
So here you go. That was about Mr. Zelensky. If you want to know anything else, you can look at YouTube, or if you want to know about somebody else, also let me know. But yeah, I just hope that finally they're gonna stop that war, because it's not going anywhere. And poor people, they're just the ones that are the victims. Okay, now a lot of people say, okay, are they gonna come back to Ukraine? The people who are away? I don't think so. I mean, they're already building their own life somewhere else. So it's kind of sad, and a lot of the young men went to war and a lot of them died, unfortunately. And obviously Zelensky is still alive. He is the one who is making that mess. So I just feel sad. I feel sad for the people, and let's hope that the ceasefire will happen soon. All right, thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you later.